In this how-to, we're going to take a look at the new racing features in Flight Plan. This will actually be a series of several how-to videos. This one will join some races, we'll create some new races, and so on. There will be another separate one on creating your own race course, with just some tips and tricks on creating a race course. And then I'll probably do a third one specifically geared for bush trips, because it's kind of its own thing. Let's take a look at a couple of the new settings that we have. One of the things I want to mention, let's center on Notre Dame. Now, if you're a Flight Plan user, you're going to want to go ahead and upgrade whether you want to use the racing features or not. There have been substantial map improvements and overall performance improvements, so I recommend you go ahead and download the update and upgrade. But specifically when it comes to the racing features, we've added a few settings under the aircraft settings. In addition to the original lap timer toggle, just to turn the lap timer on and off, we now have a distance mode that will control how the waypoint is triggered in flight when you're racing. And then also we've added a fixed mode where you can actually pick how many feet it is. And I'll talk about the normal and pro and bush trip modes, what that means. And then we've also added a radius so that, here, let's move this so you can see. We've added a radius so that, oh, and we've also added bouncy pins, so that's cool. But more importantly, we've added radiuses on the map. So I can go ahead and close this. What this shows is a 1,000-foot radius around the pin. The outer circle here is at a 1,000-foot radius. This inner circle is at half that, a 500-foot radius. If you're racing on limited class aircraft, so if you're doing roughly 400 miles an hour, if you're in normal mode, this is about how much room you're going to have, depending on your actual speed. If you're in pro mode, it's half that distance. And I guess we'll go ahead and talk about those modes right now. The racing mode specifies how close to the waypoint you need to get in flight. So in normal mode, the way it's always been with the lap timer, it calculates your speed in feet per second and then rounds that number up to the nearest 100. So basically, you know, unlimited class aircraft moving at, say, 385-ish miles an hour, it's going to be somewhere around, you know, 400 and something feet per second. It might even be over 500 feet per second, but let's just say it's 440 feet per second. It will round up to 500, and then that will become your radius. So essentially that is described by this inner circle. This outer circle is actually a 1,000-foot radius. Okay, so you'd have to be moving pretty fast to be doing 1,000 feet per second, but it just gives you a convenient measurement that you can see when you're zoomed out farther. A 500-foot radius is pretty small. Okay, so now if you're in pro mode, there's no rounding and it's essentially half the distance. So in pro mode, using the same example, if I'm moving 500 feet per second, it's going to go ahead and use 500 feet per second. Even if it's 501 feet per second, it's going to use 501 feet. It's not going to round up to 600. It'll just use 501, and that'll be the total diameter of the circle. So essentially, again, in that example, it's half this distance. So it's basically, if you look at the satellite, in pro mode, you basically are going to have to pass directly over some portion of the building itself, because your pro mode, this circle's 1,000 feet across. A pro mode circle is only going to be 500 feet across, so it's going to be half this size again. Okay, and then each of the waypoints shows your diameter. Again, these can be handy if, I guess a good example, let me open up something like the Grand Canyon flight. So if you're going to do something like a canyon flight, it can be handy to see just how wide the canyon is. So this is a good example. Basically, the Colorado River is roughly around, at the bottom, is around 1,000 feet across. And then at the rim, it's roughly 2,000 feet across. So let me go back to Paris. I've loaded the Paris circuit. I'm flying the P-51D, or at least this flight plan has the P-51D. That doesn't really matter. I'll show you here in a minute why when it comes to the live racing features. So when you go into Cockpit Map and turn on your GPS follow, it's going to go ahead and drop us at the equator because we haven't loaded a flight plan. So even though we're at the main menu, we do have an aircraft loaded, whatever the last aircraft we used was, but it doesn't know where to drop us. So it just puts us at the equator instead of Notre Dame, which is where our race is. Now I can, as normal, go into World Map, load this flight plan, but if I want a live race, let me turn GPS follow back on. You'll notice it turned on my checkered flag button here. So if I hit checkered flag, it's going to open up my races form, and I've got the sport class loaded at the moment. So it picks up whatever class aircraft you currently have loaded. If you go into your hangar, you can see I've got the extra 330 LT loaded, so that's what it picked up. It said, all right, you're in the extra 330 LT, which is in the sport class, and these are the sport class races that we currently have running. Now, if I want to look at all races, I can uncheck my sport class checkbox, and here's all the races that are currently running on the website. And I'll show you how to add your own race. But let me get out of the racing, go back into my hangar, and let's change our aircraft to Lady B, and there she is. And now when we hit our checkered flag, you'll see it's changed my class to the unlimited class, and it's loaded my P-51D Mustang, the Lady B version, which is the one I have selected. Now what's really handy about that for longtime flight plan users especially, you know, it can be kind of a hassle to get the exact name of any custom aircraft, whether it's something you bought in the marketplace or whether it's just something that's not part of the standard aircraft that's in the drop down. You've got to actually go grab the name of the aircraft. Now when I load, let's see, well, it doesn't matter, we'll load the 5-lap challenge. Since we were already in Paris, we'll go ahead and join this race. This is a list of all the races. Again, to finish my thought, we're in the unlimited class. These are all the races. If I just want to see my own races, I can select my flight plans, and you can see that I'm logged in as TechStan, so these are all my races that I've created. And if I'm tired of them, I can close them straight from here. You're not going to lose laps or anything. It'll just drop them out of the active races list here. Or you can uncheck the box and you'll see all races from all users. You can search for a particular race, so if you know the name of the race or the name of the race course, again, we've been messing with Paris, so if I just say Paris, these are the 2 races that are currently open using the Paris circuit, or actually just having Paris in the race title or the course name. So basically it just works the same as our search feature on the website. So you could also put in ICAO codes, and if there's no airports on any of these, I don't think, but you could search by ICAO code if you wanted. And so we were going to join the Paris race, which is actually, let me load something else. Let me load London, because if you recall, I loaded the Paris flight plan before I opened Cockpit Map. But let me go ahead and join the London race. So let's say I change my mind. Ooh, these are cool races. Let me race London instead of Paris. So when I join the open race, it's going to go ahead and download, oh, I'm still on the equator. But if we go to our flight plan, it's going to download the flight plan from Sim Flight Plan. I was in Paris, now I'm in London, and actually, if I go back to the main screen, it's also picked up my aircraft. So I started out in the Paris circuit, which is what I had loaded a minute ago, and I was flying the plain vanilla P-51 Mustang Reno non-Lady B, and now I'm flying the Lady B. So now if I just want to save this flight plan, I keep a temp directory out here. I can just save it, and I didn't have to go looking for the name of the aircraft, and I didn't even have to go to simflightplan.com and download the flight plan, because it downloads for me automatically. Once I'm spawned, here, let's go ahead and get in flight. Now that I've saved that flight plan, I can go to World Map and load my temporary flight plan, and it'll pick up the aircraft I selected in my hangar and the race I selected in flight plan. Now I point that out because you can actually do this with any flight plan in the library. So if I wanted to create my own new race, which I'm going to go over in detail how to do that in a minute, but this is all of the flight plans. Here, Here, let me turn off just the race circuits. This is every flight plan on the website, and you can see if it has races created for it yet or not. You can even see the old how-to flight plans are still up here. I don't know why you would want to race one, but you could if you wanted to. And if you want to take a look at what the flight plan is, if you just click the link, it'll open up the download. From the downloads page, gives you the full description, the mileage. In this case, I had done a lap and uploaded my times. You can look at the details of the course before you create a new race with it. But in our case, let me back out of here. I've joined the London 5-lap challenge. Okay, I hit my lap times button, and what it's showing me is this is my previous race result, my best race result, and then these are all my previous laps ranked fastest to slowest, and then my best laps are indicated in green, and I can scroll through all of the waypoints and my worst laps, or worst sectors rather. Best sectors are in green, worst sector is in red, and you can use your little arrows here to cycle through the waypoints if there's more than, I guess, 5 of them. And it also tells me the class of the race. Now, you can race any aircraft on any race, but only unlimited class aircraft will show up in the official race results. You'll see your own race results no matter what aircraft you're flying, but when you look on the website and you look at the official lap times and the leaderboards, you won't see, if I jump in and fly this in an F-18, I'll be able to look at those laps, but they won't show up in the official race results for the London 5-lap challenge. I can go ahead and create a different race if I want to. Also tells me what mode I'm racing, so we talked about the modes a little bit. I'll talk about them maybe some more in flight. The mode for this particular race is normal, and it's a 5-lap race, and that gives me a total of a 65.10 nautical mile race. And the last race time for me was 12.5 minutes, and my best lap was 2 minutes 28 seconds, which is this one right here, so I can look through and see what my sector times were on that lap. Now, I need my map, but you can watch the lap timer in flight if you want to, and we'll probably do some of that. I'm going to zoom out just a bit, and I'm going to leave my radiuses on. You can turn these off if they're a distraction. Again, these are not going to adjust based on speed, so it's 1,000 foot and a 500 foot radius circle, but it'll give me an idea how close I truly am to the waypoint as I'm flying. If it bothers you, you can just go back to your aircraft settings and you can turn them off. Show them, and now they're on. But again, for long-time flight plan users, that's a pretty handy way to get the correct name of the aircraft. You'll see it as you select aircraft, it adds them to the drop-down at the moment, but it won't save them. They'll go away when you close flight plan. But in the next version, it will save all your aircraft, and you'll have a continually growing list of all the standard Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft, plus any aircraft you have in your hangar that you ever decide to use in flight plan. Once we go back into Cockpit Map, we're starting lap 1 of 5 for our race. And I'm going to adjust my Cockpit Map down here. Now this is London circuit is pretty short. I don't know that I'm going to do all 5 laps. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but we'll go ahead and do 1 lap just so you can see how it works in flight. Now again, for longtime flight plan users, you'll notice the map performance is substantially faster than it was. It's also more forgiving of Google latency. The previous version map display, if Google took a really long time to load, say like streets imagery or something like that, you'd end up with like a white screen. If Google takes a long time, it's still going to take a long time, but now at least the flight plan will wait for it. The Gherkin is our next one here. I haven't actually been checking to make sure that I'm hitting the waypoints. So far, so good. It's dropped my race times off the top, and now it's counting my current race laps as I fly. As I pass my waypoints, you'll see the lap display record my sector time for each sector as I pass it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause. Okay, just to point a couple things out. Now notice I've paused the flight simulator, but the lap timer doesn't care. It's going to keep counting. So if you want to pause, go to the bathroom, go grab a cup of coffee, whatever it is you want to do, that's fine, but it's going to be part of your lap time. If you want to stop it, you need to close Cockpit Map and it'll just reset your lap and start you over. Now, I'm not going to do that right now. I'll show you that momentarily. But what I wanted to point out is notice what happened as I crossed my finish line. Because these waypoints, I put them basically in an overlapping pattern. Essentially, there's almost no latency between the start and the finish. As soon as my finish triggered, I'm close to or already in the sphere for my start, so it turned around and started my next lap for me. In a lot of the other flight plans you can peel off, you might be able to, if you just skim this waypoint and peeled off, you might be able to just peel off and stop the timer. But I just wanted to point out that if you don't want any gaps in time between your finish of one lap and your start of the next lap, you basically want to overlap your start and finish waypoints. And I'll talk about that more when we do creating your own race course. Again, it's still counting lap 2. I've passed my start waypoint, but I went off course here, so we'll swing back around and get on our next waypoint and continue this live lap. Actually, while we're paused, let me switch to the website. And you'll see now the London 5 lap challenge is moved all the way to the top because it's got a live lap going. It's in white here. You can show, it shows how many folks are racing live, just myself in this case. If there were other live racers, they would show underneath my lap times here. So if we look at the laps for the London 5 lap challenge, it's showing the live lap for me in progress. I haven't passed any sectors yet. And if I was racing with my friends, they would also, their live laps would show here as well with wherever their last completed sector is. And then all the completed laps are sorted in order of best to worst laps. So you can see these are all mine, my laps 1 through 10, and then Smoking Hole has a few laps, and then back to mine. Anyway, and then these are the top 2 unofficial lap times. You can see it hasn't even recorded this lap time yet, but this includes all best laps, official, unofficial, or otherwise. So let me log in real quick. Oh yeah, here we go. If you look at the Yosemite Open, you see I have 1 completed lap, 11 minutes 58 seconds show up in the official times, but I have 2 unofficial laps where I missed 1 race point, and this one I missed 2 race points. But you can see my fastest lap was 10:26.82, which is actually showing up in our unofficial lap times here. But if you look at the race leaderboard itself, it's not going to count 10:26 unofficial lap because it's got missed waypoints. So my best lap to go on the leaderboard is 11 minutes 58 seconds. So anytime you miss a waypoint on a lap, or if it's, as in the case of London, where it's a 5 lap race and I only do 3 laps, well, that's not going to be a part of the leaderboard because it's not a part of the official race results. Same thing if I raced an aircraft that was in a different class than the unlimited class. They're not going to show up in the official race times, but if I'm looking at my laps and I'm not hiding my unofficial laps, if I'm showing all my laps, if it was a multi-lap race and you crash before you finish, it keeps your completed laps, but you know, the lap you crashed on is done as soon as you close Cockpit Map. So that's what we mean by official and unofficial laps. So that's how that works. And now I've completely shot this lap. If I close this, there's no point in finishing this lap. You know, my average lap times are in the 2 minute 20 second, 2 minute 30 second range. There's no point in finishing this race at all. So if I close my Cockpit Map, when I look on the website, and you'll notice that we no longer have anyone live racing because I've backed out of that race. And if I go to the London 5 lap challenge, My race lap, which I didn't pay attention to the time, so I don't actually know which lap it was. But my lap will show up as a part of the race laps, but it will not show up as part of the leaderboard when I'm looking at our race leaders. Okay, so this is the previous race I did where I did all 5 laps in 12 minutes, 32 seconds. The other thing to mention is you'll notice we've got bush trips out here. We've got circuits where you can race in a circle in a lap fashion. The Yosemite and the Grand Canyon are single lap one-way runs. There's also the Snake River run, which is a single run one direction. So it's up to you if you want to do laps and how many laps you want to do, depending on what class aircraft you're flying. And I'll talk about that more when we talk about creating race courses. In fact, we'll probably talk about that more right now. So let's say I'm tired of racing my Lady B here. So let's go back into our main menu, and we're back. As soon as you go back to the main menu, you drop back on the equator. Don't let it freak you out. And then let's go to our hangar and let's just pick a run-of-the-mill. Where's my little X Cub? I do love my NX Cub. Where is it? There it is. Let's just pick this little guy. I guess the other thing to point out, there's really no need for me to drop out of live mode, but if I was done live racing, but I still wanted to fly laps and just look at them locally, because again, you still have the lap report here. If you just want to run some local laps and not post them to the website, you can double click on the live indicator and it just turns off your live racing, and now your single lap counter, and the only place they'll show up is here in your lap times report. And then of course you can share them, so if you share your flight plan and if you include your lap times, it'll be part of the text of the course. Any laps that you do when you're not live will not show up on the website. So let's join a different race. Okay, and notice now I'm in my light propeller class. It's picked up the new aircraft I've loaded, and it's showing all my light propeller class races. But let's say I don't want to do any of these. Let's say I want to go ahead and do London, but the unlimited class is just a little too hard. I can't make it through the tower bridge, so let me slow down a little bit and see if it's more manageable. So if I want to create a new race, I just select new. Now, first thing it does, it filters by flight plans that are already race courses. So anything that's already had a race created for it is shown. It gives you the blurb out of the description of the flight plan. If there are races, it shows you the first possible mode. So if we look, so the Paris circuit has 4 races. Not all 4 races are likely, or they might all be normal, they might not. You know, you'd have to go join the race or go look on the website to see which ones are or which ones aren't. But basically, it shows you, like in this case, the Manhattan circuit only has a pro race, so if you want to create a normal mode race, go for it. There's no limit to the number of races you can have, so you know, just because someone else has already created a race with the Paris circuit for the light propeller class and you want to create your own, create your own. And it'll pick up your username as the creator anyway, but put something in the description so that you can easily distinguish it if you want to find it on the website. So let's pick the race course. We'll create a new race from scratch next time, but let's just pick the Paris circuit. So let's say I tried it in the unlimited class and just kept crashing, just couldn't make it. So I'm just going to create my own race in my handy dandy X Cub on the Paris circuit. X Cub challenge. All right, and then we need to pick the number of laps. So, oh, we said we were going to do London, not Paris. Darn it, where is my London course? There's my London circuit. Okay, I don't know why I didn't see that in the first place. We want our London circuit. We're going to call it London circuit. We'll just call it the London Cub Challenge. Obviously the X Cub's substantially slower, but it's a fairly short course. We'll just leave it at 1 lap for now. Now also notice a couple other things. I'm not going to talk about creating new classes, but I could create a new race class if I wanted to for my aircraft. And I could also upload my current flight plan. So if you downloaded a flight, I'm not going to close this since I already typed in my name, but let's say I wanted to rearrange the London circuit and then upload it as a new course. Well, so I could fly it. Let's say I crashed it. I decided it's too hard. I'm going to move those waypoints around a bit, and then I could re-upload that same flight plan again with a different name, preferably, so it's not confusing, and then create a whole new race with my new flight plan with that new course. Now, in this case, we're just going to use that exact same London circuit course that has the existing unlimited class race for it. And because I'm creating a new race, my light propeller class checkbox is grayed out. That's telling me you are going to create a race in the light propeller class. If that's not what you want, you need to back out and pick a different aircraft. So let's create a new race. And now we're live, ready to race the London circuit with an X-Cub. Now, just like before, I'm going to need a flight plan with the X-Cub and the London circuit, so I'm just going to close, save it to my temp directory here, and in fact, I'll just overwrite the one I've already got. And now I can go into World Map and load the flight plan. Now, for everyone who's wondering, yes, in the next version, we will load the flight plan directly from Cockpit Map into World Map for you, or if you're in flight or wherever you are, you won't have to save it and reopen it. But Microsoft Flight Simulator got ahead of us on the SimConnect version, the software development kit version, and good for them. I'm not complaining. That's great. They gave us a whole bunch of stuff we didn't even know we wanted, but we want to go ahead and upgrade to the latest SDK before we add that next batch of features, which will include loading the flight plan directly from Cockpit Map into Microsoft Flight Simulator, and some other cool features that I don't want to commit us to right now, but there'll be some cool stuff. Okay, so now I've spawned in my trusty X-Cub, ready to race the circuit. Now, one thing I want to point out about the X-Cub, we'll see, is we're moving a whole lot slower, so I'm going to have to get a whole lot closer to my waypoints, so I may want to adjust my zoom accordingly. 15 may even be too close, even for the X-Cub, but we'll see. Also, I've mentioned in previous videos, but the lap timer will not start if GPS follow is off. So if you want to go take a practice lap without your map, or you want to fly around and get trimmed out real quick before you actually start, you can go ahead and turn off GPS follow, and whether you're live or not, it's not going to start your lap until you do turn GPS follow back on. Let's go ahead and fly this. Whoa, and I do need to get trimmed out. Oh, I'm probably an autopilot. Yeah. Important safety tip: aircraft equipped with autopilots, when you spawn in flight, spawn with the autopilot on, which is nice. I want to stay as close to my speed warning as possible, I guess, since I'm racing. Now, one thing I didn't consider about the X-Cub is I'll be moving a lot slower, so it should be theoretically easier, but I'm wondering if it's going to be maneuverable enough to even make the turn I need to make it at the Tower Bridge. Yeah, this is kind of a whole different racing line in an X-Cub. Whoa! Also, I didn't point out before, as you cross each waypoint, whether you're watching your laps or just the lap timer itself, if you're racing online, the lap timer will give you the best sector, which in this case, this is the first time I'm racing this. I just created this, so obviously every sector I run is going to be the best sector until somebody else runs it, or until I run it again. Alright, and we'll see. Yeah, we should be able to get through the Tower Bridge. Oh, maybe. Yep, you gotta time that one just right, though. I'm gonna guess in the X-Cub, this is gonna be a bit of a different strategy to cross my waypoint here, and I think it's right between the towers there. And then get myself pointed at the O2 arena. Obviously, in the unlimited class, you gotta swing way out over the other end of the Thames. All right, and this is a 1-lap race, so I'm just going to head straight for my finish waypoint and not worry about rounding the O2 arena for another lap. But you can see if I was, you can see as my aircraft passes through the, looks like a little Venn diagram there, where my start and end point meet. Now we have a completed lap. It was a 1-lap race, so there are no number of laps, so it just doesn't tell you anything. So it's light propeller class, normal mode. 6:09 is the time to beat in the Asobo NX Cub. And again, since this is my first lap, obviously every sector time is the best sector time, and next time I race it, every time is going to be either the best time or the worst time. And now if I go on the website, and now I've got my London X Cub Challenge. I've only done 1 lap. I'm the only one that's done any laps, so automatically I'm the best. And here's the leaderboard with the same lap time I just showed you. If you miss some sectors, those become unofficial laps, which you can hide or show your own unofficial laps, but no one else sees them. So to recap, you finish your race, you want to race again. The first question you'd be able to ask yourself is, what do I want to fly? If you want to fly something different than what you're flying right now, you need to go back to your main menu and go into your hangar and select an aircraft, or select a flight plan with your preferred aircraft already part of the flight plan, the same way you always have in flight plan. Again, all the existing flight plans can be used as races, and ultimately you don't even really have to use it as races. If you just want to use this as your own personal flight logbook, similar to the pilot logbook in Flight Simulator, if you want to race another race, the first thing you want to do is pick whatever your aircraft is going to be. So let's say I want to switch to a T6 Texan. Now when I go back into Cockpit Map, it's going to pick up the new class. It's going to filter for just those races in that class, or I can join any race I want, just understanding that my results won't show up in the official results unless it's T6 class. And then if I want to, I can create my own race using any flight plan on simflightplan.com. The race circuits are already flagged as soon as you go in, but if there's some other flight plans, if you want to fly the Hobbiton leg, or, actually there's probably a Mendenhall Glacier out here. But again, you can use any flight plan in the library. And now this only shows the first 100, so you can see we're only getting to the T's. You can browse through. Again, it gives you the general description of the flight plan. They're all available, and if there were any races for it, it tells you how many there are. You could filter down by your own flight plan, so I've created more than a few myself, but this would show only your own flight plans, and then you can filter it down even further just for race circuit flight plans, meaning flight plans that already have at least one race. Again, join any race you want. All you've got to do is select it and click your join button. Cockpit Map will load your flight plan. If you need a flight plan to load into World Map, your aircraft will already be selected and it's already downloaded. So I can just save it and then go straight into World Map and load my newly saved flight plan. You can see I'm in Monument Valley, ready to fly my route. I've got my radiuses turned on. I'm live. And you can see this one I've done before, once successfully, and then once that doesn't count because I missed a race point. And if I want to know which race point that is, I can come down here and you can see that looks like Stagecoach is where I have my problem, because 2 separate laps I missed that same waypoint. Maybe I want to go ahead and take a look at the Stagecoach, zoom in, look at your satellite, whatever you want to do to prep yourself to make sure that you're ready to hit the waypoint on your next lap. One thing I guess I should point out, you can select an aircraft here, of course, but if I select this aircraft here in World Map, that is not actually my selected aircraft until I load a flight plan. So if we open up our racing mode, you'll notice my T6 class is still selected. So if you check your hangar, you can be 100% sure it's selected. That's all I've got. Our next video will be on creating a course, so that'll probably be another long one, but I'll go through some tips and tricks. Basically, a race course is just a regular flight plan. Any flight plan can be a race course, but I've got some tips and tricks that I could share if you want to create your own race course to make it easier or harder, depending on what you want to do. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.